Hello everyone, and please let me introduce myself. My name is Espen Andersen, and I'm here to talk to you about the next module in your MBA program called IT Management and eBusiness, which I'll teach. Okay, let's start. The first slide here is about myself, basically. I teach strategy and technology innovation at the Norwegian Business School and have done so for quite a few years. I also run a research center called Center for Technology Strategy. I have spent time abroad. In total, I've lived almost 9 years in the United States. I have my doctorate from the Harvard Business School. I have been a researcher at MIT and also a visiting scholar at Bentley University, just outside Boston. And other things, I have had almost 2 parallel careers. So I've been a technology and management and strategy consultant for 15 years in the United States while living in Norway. And I've also been a management speaker and given more than 500 presentations around the world. So I've been both on the practical side and the academic side of technology management. I'm also a passionate case teacher, in fact, an instructor in how to do case teaching for the Harvard Business School Press. Okay, the module, or rather, the mission in my life, what I care deeply about, is illustrated in this figure. We have technology, and technology is how we do things, not just computers or machines or things like that, but actually how we actually do things in a repeatable and optimizable fashion. And then we have the business environment and we have business strategy. And the relationship between these three are such that the technology and how the technology changes over time influences the business environment. And the business environment forces changes in strategy. We've seen many examples with the internet and other technologies that a change in technology changes how the business can be run and forces businesses to change their strategy. And the two things the main thing I want to convey through this module is helping you understand how technology changes over time so that you as managers can change the strategy of your company before you're forced to do so by the observable changes in the business environment. Okay, more formally, these are the 4 modules. These are the 4 goals for this module. First one is the theme of technology evolution, which is how technologies change over time. Second one is technology impact. What is the impact of changes in technology on us, on companies, on countries? Thirdly, technology competition. How can we use technology to compete, and how does competition work in technology-rich industries? And lastly, technology management. So a little bit more detail here. In technology evolution, I want you to understand how technology evolves over time, how it changes, why it is that a technology can stand still for very long and then suddenly get a leap forward, why some technologies win and some don't. Second one, technology changes, particularly in information technology, changes how we compete. It changes what we can do inside organizations. It changes the demands placed on us as members of society, as managers, and even as politicians. So we need to understand that impact. Technology competition. Companies compete through technology, how they do things, and they need to get better at it, both their information technology and their production technology, and in most instances, or many companies, those are the same. And we'll look into that and try to understand how competition takes place and how we can optimize this, how we can win, how sometimes the worst technologies win. And lastly, technology management. Understanding the challenges of managing an IT department, the internal piece of information technology in an organization, which everybody has. But also trying to understand how to communicate between the business side and the technology side of a business, and how that can be done in different ways in different types of businesses. Okay, I want to underscore that this course takes a top management perspective. I will not teach you how to use technology. This is not a course about how to use your computer better. I will not teach you how to different systems development technologies or anything like that. I will not go into the details of technology for a number of reasons. You have widely different backgrounds in technology. Some of you are very technology literate, have an engineering background maybe, have worked in companies that are high tech. Others have not so much information technology or technology experience. And trying to bring everybody up to a certain level just wouldn't work. We have to look at this from a managerial viewpoint. How do you as a manager relate to the technologists, understand the technology, and use it to run the corporation better and to compete better? That's my core focus. And to do that, you need to understand the role of the IT manager and the role of the technology in the organization. Okay. There are 4 days in the module. Here's a very brief overview. And these things are overlapping. It won't be as clear-cut as you see here. First day is called the role of IT in the organization. And we'll talk about IT and how it changes business. We'll talk about IT as a strategic tool and enabler, look at some examples, historic and others, about companies that have won through smart use of technology. And then we'll dive into and use the chain shop network framework, which I think you know from strategy, to understand the technologies behind the varying strategic and business models. At night, you will, in groups, do an analysis of a case called Costco, which is a large Chinese fleet of ships, fleet management company, and their use of information technology. The reason I chose them is because it's a Chinese case, it's a big company, and technology has played an important role in their evolution. And they're facing some formidable competition. Secondly, second day will be mostly focused on leading information technology. What is the challenge of being a CIO? And how do you organize internally to take advantage of the technology? We'll start today with some group case analysis presentations that, of the Costco case. We'll discuss that. We'll look more at IT and change shops and networks, and then we'll look quite carefully at how you organize an internal IT department. And the readings for this day and most of the 2 last days is primarily a book, which I'll get back to, called The Adventures of an IT Leader. It's a new book for this year, very exciting, but I think very good managerial viewpoint book. So looking forward to hear how you like that. At night, you will again, in groups, perform a group case analysis of a company called Glamox. Glamox is a small industrial company in Norway that went through a very dramatic restructuring based on information technology. And it is, I like the case because the company is quite easy to understand. And it's seen from the CEO's viewpoint, but it has a very strong technology component. And it's in manufacturing, which is a very important industry in China. And there aren't that many differences between a Norwegian manufacturing company and a Chinese manufacturing company, except size and the cost of the workers. Okay, next morning, day 3, looking into strategic use of IT. We'll start with a case analysis presentation and discussion of Glamox. We'll look at things like the role of the CIO, drawing on the book, and on another case called iPremier. And we'll look at various issues within information technology management, managing people, managing vendors, managing projects, things like outsourcing, we'll look at that, project management within an IT context, and so on and so forth. And the last day, we'll try to step into the future a little bit. We'll again start with a group case analysis, this time of the Schibsted case. The case on the third day is a Norwegian company called Schibsted. They are a media company, and they are quite unique because they are the only media company in the world that successfully has managed the transition from paper to digital. They used to own a lot of newspapers. Now they are, I think, the 4th largest media company in the world, primarily through their success in the digital domain. And I'd like to go in there and look at what was it that caused Schibsted to be so successful, and what can we learn from it. All right, and we'll talk about more futuristic things like disruptive technologies and how they evolve, and a little bit on the future of information management. I've done quite a bit of research on search technology and how you manage enormous amounts of data and how that changes what you can do, the room for strategy for managers and for technologists. All right, so that's basically what will happen in those 4 days. Evaluation. Students always ask about evaluation, how they evaluate it. And there are 3 factors to the evaluation. First, it is the group case analysis. You will be divided into groups. I think you are already. You will, as a group, get evaluated on the quality of your analysis and presentation of the cases. And I will set it up so that everybody has to prepare every case. And when I mean everybody, I mean every group and every person in every group. Because on the day you present, the groups will be semi-randomly picked, and I will also pick out who inside each group, which 2 people from each group will present. And based on how they do, you'll get graded. Which means everybody has to prepare, and everybody has to make sure that everybody in the group can do the presentation. Okay, there will be an individual take-home exam, which is about 50% of the grade. I'm not yet decided how to do that. I have done a format where you have multiple questions on many different topics, and you have to write short essay questions. I've also tried to have a case analysis where you get a case presented, which you have to analyze and write a report on, as if you were a consulting company. It will be one or the other. Not sure about which. Maybe a mix, I don't know. Okay, and thirdly, participation in the classroom. And I've upped the participation grade to 15%. I might up it even more once I start thinking about it. And there are 2 reasons for this. Well, many years ago, when teaching in a Chinese classroom, the quality of English for the students was kind of varying, and people were very shy about speaking. That's no longer the case. Most students speak excellent English, and I think it's high time that we try to use the same teaching methods we use here or in the United States or everywhere else in China. So we will have class-wide discussions, and I expect everybody to participate. And I expect everybody to be prepared. And I want you to learn as much as possible, not just from me, but from each other. And participative discussion is the way to do that. Okay? What I'm looking for in all of these evaluative components is that you have an understanding of what's being taught in the module and you learn from it, that you understand the readings and the additional material and have prepared it well. I'm looking for ability to think yourself. I'm not looking for students who repeat back what it says in the book. That's not interesting. That's not what makes you a manager. I want somebody who can take a look at it and synthesize and formulate their own thoughts on a problem. Think independently, think and individually and as a group analyze problems and come up with good solutions for them. Grading, well, students who just repeat back what's in the book will at most get a C. That's at most. Okay, students who synthesize well, put things together well, and show ability to draw learning from the material will get a B. And again, at most a B. You're not guaranteed a B if you show that. Students who delight the teacher and surprise him with their sharp analysis and independently formulated new solutions will get an A. And I love giving out A's. So please prepare well. Please think hard about the things you see and learn and try to be sharp and independent in your analysis. Preparing. Okay. There's a memo going out. It's called Memo Before Class or Memo to Students or something else, not very full of fantasy, not very creative. And it's a fairly detailed description inside of what you're supposed to read. There's a stack of articles and there's this new book called Adventures of an IT Leader, by some very, very good professors in the field. This book is new this year, and I'm quite excited about it because it takes a very different perspective on leading technology. It's written like a novel. So you follow Jim Barton, who is an executive in a company that is struggling, and he is tapped to become the CIO. So he's a business manager charged with taking over the IT department. And he has to learn pretty fast, what does it mean to run an effective IT department? What are the specific challenges of that task? And as he goes through, he learns more about the people in there, about how to manage them, about the various issues that are core to information technology management. And I think I really like that book because it, in a fairly short span and written from very, very good experience, shows what it takes to really become a good IT leader. So I'm quite excited about that book, and I hope you'll enjoy it because it's quite different. Okay, so read the book, read the articles, be prepared for debate. I want to have a discussion. I don't want to talk so much. I want you to talk in class. I want to hear your perspectives. And in order for you to do that, you should read the book and the articles, and then you should take a look at your own company and say, well, what does information technology look like in our company? How is it organized? How is technology organized? How do we compete? Do we have technology that's better than anybody else? Do we have a technological advantage? And if so, how can we exploit it? And so on and so forth. Think through what you read and how it applies to you. Here's something you also should do, and that has to do with the chains, shops, and networks framework. Visit these 3 web pages. Dell, very well-known producer primarily of PCs. Visit them and try to understand what could destroy their business. They're struggling now. Why? This has to do with understanding how technology evolves over time, but it also has to do with understanding something about the challenges of producing modularized technology in a high-velocity environment. Secondly, take a look at McKinsey & Company. McKinsey is one of the world's leading consulting companies. Try to understand what makes them tick. In order to run a company like that, how do you need to set up your systems? How do you need to set up your communication technology? What kind of people do you recruit? And how do you empower them through use of technology? Lastly, take a look at a company called eBay. Or if you don't want to look at eBay, take a look at Alibaba or any of the other big marketplaces and think, what is the competitive advantage of one of these marketplaces over the other? What kind of technology do they use? What kind of technological challenges do they have? What does it take to succeed as one of these companies? And that should be all. I'm quite looking forward to coming down again. I've been there almost, 1 to 2 times a year for the last 10 years. This is my 10th year teaching this course, and it's always good fun. It's rather exhausting, both for teacher and student, but I'm quite looking forward to it. So thank you very much, and see you in 4 weeks.